Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. The news just broke within the last couple hours or so. The SEC, in the remedies portion of the SEC v. Ripple case, is seeking to bankrupt Ripple with a $2 billion remedy. Absolutely freaking outrageous. Show me the humans that were harmed by what Ripple was doing. Can you find one? Can you find the unicorn? Because what I notice is that there were 75,000 XRP holders represented by attorney John Deaton who say no, we weren't harmed. The judge found that XRP itself is not a security, but there were certain transactions that the judge also found Ripple engaged in illegally, and the SEC is saying for that you should be fined in the remedies portion of this case to the tune of $2 billion, which, come on, Ripple does not have that money. Ripple has, last I heard them publicly state by Brad Garlinghouse, they had about $1 billion in the bank, which is a ton of money. They're asking for twice that? What in the ever-loving hell? This would ruin the company. Now, is that going to happen? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. I have perspective from some executives at Ripple, including a co-founder of Ripple. I've got also perspective from a former SEC attorney opining on what is likely to occur here, but this is completely preposterous. Before going further, though, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so just this morning, probably, I don't know, a little over 12 hours ago, I posted a video letting everybody know, hey, the SEC and Ripple are going to be meeting today. That's what's cited on your screen here in this Daily Coin article. And it was to discuss what's happening regarding the remedies portion of the lawsuit. Now, I wasn't expecting necessarily for us to see anything today. I knew we could, but I was expecting more likely by tomorrow we would, because as you can see on the screen here, March 26, 2024, the SEC has to file a redacted version of its opening brief as it pertains to remedies. So I thought, yeah, okay, they could file something today, but probably tomorrow. Now, I haven't seen the SEC actually file anything yet, so that probably will occur tomorrow. But Ripple's attorneys and executives started talking about part of what the SEC is going to be going for. $2 billion. Oh my freaking God. And so we knew that this was coming. Here's a post on March 22nd from XRP community member and attorney James K. Filan. The SEC has filed under seal its opening remedies related brief and supporting documents. These documents are not public yet. Public redacted versions will be filed no later than Tuesday, March 26, 2024. So we're going to get to see that by tomorrow. But take a look at what Stuart Alderati said. Stuart Alderati reposted what I just shared with you from attorney Filan. Stuart Alderati, of course, is Ripple's chief legal officer, so he's their top in-house legal guy at Ripple. And he said, as you will see, when the SEC's brief is made public tomorrow, they ask the judge for $2 billion in fines and penalties. Folks, like, I don't think this is going to go through with $2 billion. I think this is completely outrageous. I can't imagine the judge going for that. But if that actually were the penalty, how does Ripple exist? I don't see how they do. The SEC, despite losing the case, I mean, in terms of, the stuff that at the heart of it that actually matters, which would be the legal status of XRP, they lost that. And still they're trying to destroy Ripple. It's these people are some of the worst humans on the planet. Alderati continues. Our response will be filed next month. But as we all have seen time and again, this is a regulator that trades in statements that are false, mischaracterized, and designed to mislead. They stayed true to form here. Rather than faithfully apply the law, the SEC remains bent on wanting to punish and intimidate Ripple and the industry at large. Yeah, that sounds about right. And so I wrote to Stuart Alderati just a little before recording this video, and I said, that is completely outrageous. No one was even harmed by Ripple, but people were harmed by the SEC. And so, folks, if anything, the SEC should be paying some sort of $2 billion fine. Now, of course, I don't actually want that because it's just taxpayer money, but you get the cut of my jib. Brad Garlinghouse reposted that thread from Stuart Alderati, and he said the following. Gensler's SEC has repeatedly acted outside the law, not going unnoticed by judges admonishing the agency for gross abuse of power entrusted to it by Congress. That's the debt box case. And that's a quote, by the way. Gross abuse of power entrusted to it by Congress. That's a quote from a judge. That's real life. That's a judge saying that about a government agency, the SEC. That's a real thing. And then he continues. He says, and for acting without, quote, faithful allegiance to the law, end quote. That's the Ripple case, of course. Let's not also forget Gensler's lack of attention to SB fraud. Yeah, isn't that something? He's Gensler able to go after Ripple, able to go after Kim Kardashian, for the paid advertisement for an S-word coin, in which she acknowledged that it was a paid advertisement, and she still went after her for 7 figures. Yeah, you're able to go after that, but you couldn't sniff out that fraud from the cucumbers-eating son of a bitch, Sam Bankman-Fried. You couldn't sniff that one out, Gensler. But all this is happening? It's offensive. And then Brad says, the SEC plans to ask the judge for $2 billion in a case that involved no allegations, let alone findings, of fraud or recklessness. There is absolutely no precedent for this. We will continue to expose the SEC for what they are when we respond to this. Spot on, Brad Garlinghouse. And so I wrote to him and said, it's offensive what the SEC wants in remedies, especially given no one was harmed. Wasn't the SEC initially alleging something like $1.2 billion in their initial legal complaint in December 2020? And folks, I didn't go double check that initial legal complaint from December 2020, but that's about right. It was $1.2 billion, I think, maybe $1.3 billion. So how did that jump up to $2 billion when the core of their argument pertaining to the legal status of XRP was not found in their favor? So they almost double it? Well, we didn't go what we want, so I guess we're going to double the fine. Blah, 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 blah. We're a bunch of idiots, pricks. Blah, blah, blah. What a bunch of freaking jackasses. Chris Larson, co-founder of Ripple, reposted what Brad Garlinghouse shared and wrote the following on X. Gensler's SEC has become unhinged. This will not and should not go unnoticed in an election year as the SEC single-handedly thinks it's above the law, dragging the U.S. further behind other G20 countries. Absolutely. From John Deaton's Crypto Law, reposted what Stuart already shared, and John Deaton's Crypto Law wrote, the SEC lost on its central arguments in the Ripple case, winning only on failure to register investment contracts with a small group of institutional investors. It's going to demand 300+% in remedies. This isn't about protecting investors. It's about revenge for losing. Okay, that is spot on, because these SEC attorneys, these asshat pricks, winged spawns of Satan, there is no rationale that is reasonable for pushing for a $2 billion fine, penalties, whatever you want to call it, in the remedies portion of this case. Completely unreasonable. Not even close. Here's what attorney Bill Morgan had to say. He reposted what Brad Garlinghouse shared and wrote, Brad, we know the SEC overreaches in crypto cases regardless of the notion of simply applying the law, and we know its motives in this case go beyond legal consideration, so it won't obtain anywhere near $2 billion, but I assume it has made an argument in its brief that there needs to be a strong deterrent by a large fine due to Ripple's post-complaint and post-summary judgment sales of XRP. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's spot on. We're going to find out presumably tomorrow. And so happy to update you then as soon as we find out what they actually argue. But it's going to be nonsense. Whatever it is, it's going to be a bunch of hoo-ha, jibber-jabber, nonsense, horse-pucky. But look, I can't imagine the judge is going to read them and be like, oh, that's persuasive. I hadn't thought about it like that. Okay, $2 billion. No, that's not what's going to happen. Who is that stupid? Here's a post from attorney Mike Selig. He wrote, SEC's purportedly seeking $2 billion in monetary penalties from Ripple for purely technical registration requirement violations. The agency's clearly no longer trying to hide its litigation motives. It's regulation by insolvency. Exactly. They're trying to bankrupt Ripple. That's the goal here. That is exactly what they're doing. Now, I don't think they're going to succeed, but that's what they're going for, because that's what this would do. They could no longer exist. XRP community member Wrath of Kahneman tagged former SEC attorney Mark Fagel, asking a quick question because, former SEC guy, what's your take on this? What's your insight? So Wrath of Kahneman wrote, "Hi, Mark Fagel. Quick question. If, as is being reported, the SEC in the Ripple case is asking for a $2 billion judgment, is this just a request for a one-to-one correction, a fine of $2 billion of transactions, or is there a punitive element meant to dissuade in that figure? Thanks." And Attorney Fagel did write back, and he said, "Haven't seen the brief. I assume it includes disgorgement of illegal institutional sales, $700 million plus, prejudgment interest, and a penalty of around 1 to 2 times that amount. They won't get anything close, in my humble opinion," folks. Even a former SEC attorney who spoke out against Ripple and thought that Ripple wasn't going to do so hot in this case, and he was wrong about that, even he will say, yeah, the SEC isn't going to get what they want here. And I just don't see how they do either. Look at how Judge Torres has been behaving in this case. And just, bringing the hammer down on the SEC in multiple instances. I just, if anything, if I'm her, I'm like, well, you offended me again. Ripple fined $0.00. That would be fantastic. This is stupid. This is dumb as hell. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.